An excerpt from Perfect Blue, Maestro, and Totalitarianism. Chapter 1. The Creation of Creatures. We are all sick. Our condition to survive in this world is to be sick, contaminated. A parasite is within us, once good, but now turned toxic. How can we revert this mysterious organ back to its beneficial organ that it once was? Sons and daughters of neoliberalism, that is who we are. After capitalism had grown out of its shell and had taken up a new form, after its focus ceased to be within production, but to the consumption, we all have already become sons and daughters of neoliberalism. A creature lives inside of us, an ideology. It is indeed our eyes, our view of the world once brimming with possibilities has now diminished into its pitiful state of an obsession with consumption and a pitiful outcry for a savior. A state that has become normal for us, a state of a divided society, completing the first checklist of Hannah Arendt's warnings before a totalitarian regime. Who are you? It's not just a question that Mima asks, aiming at herself, but at us as well. Indeed, who are we? A creature that is deep within an ideology, so era-specific that there's none quite like it to have ever existed before. An ideology of our creators, one filled with obsession of free rights, an increasing culture of idolism, and thrown us in a state of constant confusion. What is it that has pushed us to this point of vulnerability, enough to make us submit ourselves for an easy solution, the blue pill matrix? This vulnerability is a widespread symptom that marks the possession of the epoch as it is. The symptom has truly already spread into other generations, not just the youth, like a pandemic, but hides itself under an ideology as a parasite, a state of juvenile confusion, of juvenile idealism, a phase indeed, but it's not just a phase that is within all of us. It is life, our current life under late capitalism. What are the characteristics of this creature anyways? The creature thrives within the state of confusion within the world, a postmodern epoch, the loss of meta-narratives. The creature has two main limbs. The first limb is a subscription to an inherent fear of the absurd. An example, allow me to bring up two very different, yet very much the same groups of people. Trump supporters and a notorious liberal Korean pop stans. My first question is to uncover this underlying structure of control between these two groups of very different people lies on what cause do they serve. Trump supporters seem to serve the cause of protecting their nation from Mexicans who are very much unsuccessfully taking over their somewhat mediocre jobs. To simplify, to protect their nation, i.e. to protect themselves. Meanwhile, on the other hand of the spectrum, to which cause does the notorious, vicious, and extremely influential and powerful group of stans serve? If some among the group were to have a political view, they would probably subscribe to many of the movements who call for free rights, which in and of itself is a wonderful thing. It has become to a point where in the group identity for them to support these causes due to their idols' avocation towards these causes. But the hypocrisy of it all shines through. Is it a matter of advocating for this movement as a matter of urgency that needed to be addressed, or is it just an aesthetic choice to them? It is this subservient worship, not of the idol, but of the aesthetics of the noble idea that feeds into the identity. It is a badge showing one's membership. All the same for both sides, where one actually advocates for something worthwhile, but the other, maybe not so, and are still under this control. The first limb moves with its figure to terrorize us, a symbolic terror of the toxic self, the Lacanian idea of the inherent lack within ourselves that is socially created. From the age where we are beginning to be capable of complex thoughts, we are bombarded with questions of self-reflection, and with it comes the symbolic and imaginary of advertisements for us to consume what is most true to being you, or to convince us that this is our true selves. Nike and their Just Do It, Samsung with Do What You Can't, Allstate with You're in Good Hands, Uber with Move the Way You Want, De Beers with A Diamond Is Forever, and Disneyland with Happiest Place on Earth. Nike, Samsung, and Uber are examples of symbols that create a lack within you, painting a picture of a free choice, paradoxically promoting their line of products. Meanwhile, Disneyland, Allstate, and De Beers are all examples of companies which focus more on appealing their products to seem of a sublime value which taps into our want to find our true selves. All we have is the desire to consume, but not the desire to be, or better, the desire to become. There's this disappearance of a will to act as how we want it to be. What replaces it is the act of consuming things that we want to be, hence becoming that thing, but only our simulacra becomes like so. The sad creature then stretches out its second limbs, from which used and combined with the first creates a far more destructive effect unleashed onto the world. A limb so hideous, it plays with our mind. It is the limb of consumerist narcissism. Perfect Blue starts with an unempathetic atmosphere of an event filled with unsatisfied customers, a state where with the influx of excess commodities and services to choose from, the consumers are in a dilemma of what to consume next. It is not merely a question of who am I anymore, but it is a set of questions following with what to become, consume next. A sense of self that is attached directly to the desire to consume. I am a sneakerhead. Therefore, to justify my love for shoes, I must buy more and more. Often commodities are paired with a culture in order to appeal to its customers, just as Slavoj Zizek has said in one of his jokes, and I quote, "The message is, true, our coffee is a little bit more expensive, but 1 cent from every coffee goes to Guatemalan children. The offer here is we make it simple for you. Your altruist solidarity to the poor is included in the price." End of quote. We are then made to become dull characters created to consume. The world is filled with meta-narratives to follow, but which one is true to you? There is a sense of looking for something more within these groups, something more than reality, something deep down within themselves, something that resonates with them. Taking the blue pill, the pill of simulation, the pill of fantasy, to be within a group should not feel alone within such consumerist ideology that atomizes us into separate individuals. A kinship of common consumerist tendencies, but not ones united through their own ideas that comes from themselves. A pseudo-isolated community that neither provides the full satisfaction of being in a group because its main interaction is between you and the product. The imaginary of idols in the opening scene demonstrates the creation of a weaker strong man, Artrian's second precursor. One that is not much of a leader, but more so an influencer, connecting us to the creature, then the creature becomes us.